So you were just telling me that you listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
right?
I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts whenever I'm driving, sometimes to go to sleep. But I listen to all kinds of stuff.
You also admitted that you were a nerd, so we got.
I am a nerd. I'm a big nerd.
What is your biggest? What podcast do you listen to that best describes your nerdiness?
I've always been a fan of the Nerdist.
There you go.
Yeah, the Nerdist. They go from everything. They do like sci-fi, and so they'll keep up with like Star Wars news and Marvel news and stuff like that. So,
are you a big Star Wars person?
I love Star Wars.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Episode 3, easy. Revenge of the Sith.
I've never watched that one.
What?
I don't think so. It's like a movie?
Yeah.
Like
Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking about Marvel. But
you're
talking
gotcha.
about I don't watch Star Wars at all. Like respectfully, I just never got into it.
Star Wars Episode 3, the best one. Best one, The Rise and the Fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Should I go watch it?
Absolutely.
Probably won't. But you should introduce yourself to everybody who's listening to this and don't know who you are.
Yep. So my name's Steven. I'm a certified nerd, but I'm also, a musician. I don't know, kind of hard to describe myself. You never really think about describing yourself until you're asked. But I love a lot of things.
How long you been into music?
I started playing music when I was 5. I grew up in a musical family, so my parents have always been involved in worship, and they're the music pastors at their church. And ever since I was able to, my dad put me in piano lessons. He owns a local piano store, so that was kind of a you got to do it or else you're out the house type thing.
Yeah, people don't know that, but you lead worship on our team for the block on Sunday nights. Yep. And so we actually had a worship night last Sunday.
Yep.
And so that's why we're going to make the topic of discussion today about worship. And so what is your favorite instrument to play like when you're leading worship?
Probably guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I've led worship on pretty much all possible instruments.
Yeah.
Taylor's a great worship pastor and leader. He likes to push you out of your comfort zone. So
we love Taylor.
Yep. Yeah. I've done, everything from drums to the piano to the bass, but guitar is just where I find my home. And it's really hard for me to like break out of the whole, like singing without having a guitar. I feel like it's always been like a security blanket in some sorts, but also I feel like it's a really good way for me to like express myself musically as well, in more ways than just vocally.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I actually played the trumpet in middle school.
Awesome.
I don't know if I said this on the podcast already, but it's a funny story actually. So I'm gonna share it, okay? Y'all can roast me in the comments all y'all want. I don't care. So when I was going to middle school, my mom was encouraging me to like do something in a band. And at that point in my life, I was like, nerds like Stevie are in the band. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I made the decision that I was going to do it, long story short. And I was like, you know what I'm going to play? I'm going to play the clarinet. You know why I wanted to play the clarinet?
Why?
Because Squidward played the clarinet. That's my only reason. Yep. Like, I don't even know why. Like, Squidward's not even a fun character. Like, I don't even know why I made that association, and I just made that jump. But when I asked my band director for a clarinet, he gave me a bass clarinet because I was a guy. And I was like, I don't want to do this because, like, this is not the one Squidward has.
Yeah.
So I just decided to play the trumpet.
Man, I would argue Squidward's the best character.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love Squidward.
Why Squidward?
I don't know. I feel like
grumpy. Are you a grumpy guy? Are you a grumpy nerd?
I'm not grumpy, but I feel like Squidward, out of all the characters, he's the one who's like constantly trying to hold it down. Like everybody else just doesn't care about anything, and Squidward's always the one trying to keep it together. Yeah. I feel like he's the adult in the situation.
I guess that's true, because SpongeBob is really a little kid.
Oh,
if you had to deal with SpongeBob every day for the rest of your life, that'd be tough.
Yeah, I'd be out of Bikini Bottom quickly.
In a heartbeat, huh? Let's get into worship. What is your favorite thing about the worship experience?
Man.
Because it can be an experience.
Yeah, it can really be an experience. I would say my favorite thing is being able to look out and visibly see like the fruits of our labor and our action. We get there earlier than everybody else. And Sometimes, practice is a struggle. Sometimes you're having issues with sound system or, a couple weeks ago, my guitar rig went out.
Yeah.
But seeing all those issues that we deal with, seeing something good come out of it and seeing, people being led into, that worshipful atmosphere. I think that's really my favorite part about it. The visual representation of like being able to see that we're doing this for a reason. And it's not just about us and us playing music, but, leading other people into an atmosphere to where they can freely worship and express themselves.
Is there a preparation that goes into readying yourself to lead worship?
I would say yes and no. I mean, you can definitely prepare yourself by like listening to the material and like learning the material and stuff like that. But I would say living, your life in a constant state of worship is kind of the best preparation that you can do. I don't think worship is something that only happens, from 7:30 to 7:45. It's something that is like a part of your daily routine, and it can be worshiping in so many different ways. So I feel like the best way to kind of prepare yourself is to just stay in that worshipful atmosphere as long as you can.
How does that change? How does worshiping God on a day-to-day basis, right? Just very practical ways. How does that make for a better worshipful experience when you start to worship him in song? Does that make sense?
I would say worshiping in song is it's the best form of communal worship. I feel like there are two there are two really good types of worship. Or not really good types. I mean, but the two main types, right? You have your communal worship to where you're worshiping as one body, right? But then you have personal worship. And I feel like personal worship to me is always a little bit more intimate because communal, you're doing it together as a people, and there's something special about that. But those intimate times that you have, whether you're, driving down, listening to worship music in your car and praying, or, you're just sitting, or, oftentimes just like in the shower praying and listening to music or whatever, those personal times, that's when I feel, the closest, and I feel like I can, pray freely and, speak more freely,
Yeah, that's good. I think that's really a word, because I think it makes for a better communal worship experience when the people in the community understand that this is not the only form of worship. You know, like
100%.
Like if we as a body in the community are intentional about worshiping God in our daily lives, and we bring that type of energy and intentionality into the worship service, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about
100%.
bringing heaven down.
Yeah. I feel like it's very common to forget that worship exists outside of the church. Yeah. We get so caught up in our daily lives, and stuff happens, and we often find or think of church as like a place of solitude, or just a free space to where you can come and then experience that. Yeah. But most of us leave worship when we walk out the doors, and it's trying to find a way to incorporate worship more routinely, and have it exist without exist outside of the several hours that we're sitting church. In.
Right. But let's talk about what you said, because I know like sometimes when we come into worship, we have so much going on. You know, like we have mental distractions, right? Like sometimes we're distracted by other people. Like what would you say to people who are struggling to rid themselves of the distraction so they can really give God their purest form of, a pure worship?
Well, I would say the number one thing to try and remember is let's set up a circumstance, right? You're sitting at church, or, you're in a worship setting, and, music's hitting, and, everything's going good. It looks like everybody else is like receiving something, right? Yeah. But you're sitting there like, I'm not really feeling, or I can't really get into it. Man, work was so stressful today, and like all this kind of stuff. Which
is a place we've all been there,
Yeah, that's a very common place. Right. I feel like it really helps me when I'm sitting in a service and bringing in my baggage from that day, to remember that I'm sitting in a room with, 50, 100 people who are in the exact same spot that I'm in. Everybody is going through those sort of things and they're bringing it in too. But the thing that differentiates somebody who can release it or keep it with them is, making the mental separation that I'm here, I'm not bringing in this baggage with me because he's taking that baggage away from me. I'm coming in here to worship and let those things go. And just trying to press as hard as you can. It's really hard to find without seeking.
That's good. Say it again.
It's really hard to find without seeking.
Yes,
and I feel like when you come in with a seeking heart, more than likely you're going to receive. So
when you're saying that, I was also thinking about Job, and Job just went through it. He lost his family, his kids, like everything but his soul was taken from him. His health, like literally everything. And I don't remember where at in Job, but Job says this. He says, "Though you slay me, like yet I will praise you." And that's just like so profound. You know that we can worship him, and we should even worship him because like he's not good just because our circumstances and our situation and like life's good. He's good because
all the time.
Well, he's God. He's God. And so I think maintaining that perspective when we worship is important to being able to worship him when life's not going too well, And like sometimes it's like it helps you get through it. It's like worship is all about him and for who he is. But like I think when we just worship him anyways, like an anyway worship or anyways praise. Like his presence alone just energizes us and pushes us on like through whatever it is we might be going through. When you were bringing up some of the possible like topics, I wrote down some notes just while I was like thinking about it, about like what to do, if your mind is wandering or if you can't seem to check in, like engage like you want to, mentally. One of the things that I thought about was I know for me, being a musician specifically,
like if I go visit another church, like, visiting family out of town or something like that, I can get into this weird thing to where I'm not able to enter in because I'm thinking, I've heard this song like 30 times or, the guitar player's guitar's out of tune or, these certain things that you kind of think about, right? But one thing that Taylor told me, and that's always kind of stuck with me, is that a good thing to do is to ask questions about the song that you're singing as you're singing it. So rather than just singing the words of the song, trying to understand them, like what's the message of this song? What does the song teach about God? Why are we saying hallelujah? What does the song say? The point of asking questions makes you think about what you're saying. So I think that that's a really good tip for when you're singing these songs. Like we sing songs that we've sung or that we've sung a lot of times, and it's because these songs are powerful. But why are they powerful? The lyrics and the meaning behind those lyrics is why we're singing those things. So I think that thinking about what you're singing a little bit more rather than just like repeating the lyrics like you're at any other concert is a really big differentiation, and it's something that can really help you.
Let's talk about I lost my train of thought. Let's talk about what was I about to say? The importance, because everybody has a smartphone. Everybody either on Spotify, Apple Music. What are you on?
Apple Music, all the way.
God bless you, sir.
Yep.
If you saved, you on Apple Music. No, I'm just playing. But let's talk about the importance of making sure that the songs that we are listening to are like biblically sound. Because like I'm willing to say that most of us listen to music, like Christian music, more than we're reading the Bible or more than we're listening to sermons. And so like there's a real sense in which what we sing can kind of shape our understanding of God and church and who, and like what it means to be a Christian, right? And so if that's the case, then where should our focus be when we're listening to music?
Well, I would say definitely when it comes to worship music, it's always good to, like I kind of just mentioned too, look at what they're actually saying. There are a lot of songs that could be either, about a, relationship between a boy and a girl, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, pointed towards, love and affection towards the Lord.
Right.
So it's always good to kind of look at what you're listening to and try and understand why you're listening to it and what they're trying to say through the music. There are a lot of songs that I've heard that are, biblical in purpose, or, hoping to, send the message and the sound of Christianity, but the lyrics aren't really sourced or rooted in any sort of, true doctrine, right?
Right.
So it's really important to look in and try and understand what you're listening to. It's also really important to realize that what you meditate on the most is going to further create an outward representation.
Yeah, that's good.
So my mom always used to say, if you eat a lot of poo-poo, a lot of poo-poo is going to come out.
All right.
Right?
Shout out to moms.
Shout out to moms. And that's super true, because when you ingest a lot of stuff that is either not biblically sound or sourced, you're going to meditate on that. And it's going to stay in you. So...
Not only that, I would say, like, you even begin to crave those things,
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes, like, unintentionally.
Yeah.
You just, this sounds good. I want this. But like you said, like, you haven't stopped and listened to what's actually being said to know if it's something that, you should be indulging in the first place.
Yeah.
Which also leads me to another question. Like, how important is our devotional time, our reading of the scriptures, being immersed in the word, important to our worship within the service and even without the service?
It's very, very important. I feel like reading and understanding and contemplating on what you've read is one of the most true forms of worship. We can sing songs written by humans all day long that may be, divinely inspired. But there's nothing more divinely inspired than the actual word, and even if it's taking a scripture, what I used to do when I was really struggling to kind of break through being able to read and continue to read as a routine, I used to take one verse and just break that verse up. What does this word mean in this context? So that's something that I find myself doing in music now, because I did that as a practice when I was really striving and trying to figure out different ways to read. I think we can agree that reading can sometimes be tough. It's really hard to make
especially when you read the Old Testament.
Oh, yes. It's hard to find the time for it. It's hard to understand oftentimes. But, the good old... references to eat an elephant, eat it at one bite at a time, right?
That's it.
It's the same thing with scripture. If you are really, really wanting to dive in and try to understand and grow, it's always good to start small and really understand what you're reading, because then you'll realize, okay, well, this is the context in this verse. This context is going to flow through, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. This is going to affect things that are happening in the future. So
I think that's a good point. And I think it's a healthy reminder, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in how much we're reading as opposed to, which I think is the right way of thinking, which is, do I understand what it is I'm actually reading, whether that's a verse or a passage or a chapter or a book, know? Because I can read like half of Genesis in a day, but what? What just happened?
Well, what do you remember from
right?
It,
And so in comparison to someone who reads Genesis 1 in a day, and they have a really, really good understanding of like what's going on. At least one better than I do. Yeah. And I think that needs to be the approach, especially when you read the Old Testament.
Oh yeah.
Because the Old Testament is only going to make you have more questions.
Yep.
And if you're not. That's what I tell people. I tell people, you don't just read the Old Testament, okay? Because if you read it, you're going to stop reading it.
Yep.
But if you go sit down and you say, you know what? I'm going to study the Old Testament. Like I'm going to do what you did. I'm going to just take a verse, and I want to know what this word means. I want to know what this verse means, or I'm just going to read this story. I'm going to read the story about Jonah in the whale. And I just want to find out everything there is to know about this. I just want to study it. What does it tell me about God? What does it tell me about me? as a human, through the lens of Jonah, and all the rest.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's important.
Yeah, it's really important to more than just, like you said, read, or the amount of reading that you're doing.
Right.
It's more about comprehending what you're reading
Exactly.
and doing it in manageable amounts to where you're actually gaining something from it. I think we've all gone through that youth phase to where the youth pastor asks you, how much have you read? And you're like, I read a whole book. Sure.
I read the Old Testament this week. What did you do? No.
What'd you get from that?
Right.
So
yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So in closing, do you want to sing a song?
I'm good.
No, you good? You
yeah, I'm good.
Look, I was laughing like, we're not ending like that.
No, yeah.
That's funny. No, Stevie, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Y'all always do a super good job leading worship. And we had a worship night, so it was great. And we're going to start trying to do worship nights at least once a quarter.
Yeah.
And so, we just value worship. We think worship is important.
Yeah.
So just carving out a Sunday where we just go in and everybody kind of just goes until they do their thing, and we just get at his feet and we just worship him who he is. And so
I think worship nights are great things, and we really do try our hardest to be as prepared as possible, and do our best to be in the right places to where we can make that space for other people as well, so that they can enter in and experience what they're needing to experience in that moment in time. So yeah, we love it.
But the good thing is he also leads worship every Sunday, or at least for the most part. So
yeah,
the worship team's going to be there whether it's a worship night or not.
100%.
No, that's good. All right, man, Steve, I appreciate you.
Yep, no problem.
Good.